Hey, Grace,
Yeah?
did you hear about the life-size statue of Darth Vader?
No. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's a mannequin Skywalker. uh, Hey everyone, welcome back to another Comics with Grace-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Grace, but today I'm dressed as Dr. Aphra in honor of our, comic theme and presentation.
Yep, so if you are listening to the audio-only version on Spotify, iTunes, wherever, what are you doing with your life? Click on YouTube and look at Grace's great cosplay of Dr. Aphra. And we also have a PowerPoint presentation too. So if you want to see the visual aids of the comics as well, go on YouTube and subscribe while you're there.
Yeah.
We love this. We love to have more views on YouTube, but anyway.
Or even better, today's going to be kind of a dense podcast. We're getting into the plot of this entire comics issue. Like maybe the best choice would be to first listen, get the vibes, and then go to YouTube, subscribe, watch, send to all of your friends, and appreciate like the full experience. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and we need to have Grace on more.
Yeah,
we have to do half my job.
She's hyping us up more than we can ourselves. So. But yeah, so once again, Comics with Grace, and so we've already done one because this is number 2, and so the first one was a few months ago, wherever it was, the Porter Engel comics. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go click on that one also. Also, we did have a bonus episode released this past weekend with Grace. She did Who is Vernestra Rowe presentation, because Vernestra Rowe is in The Acolyte, which happens to start next week, if you can believe it.
It's so crazy.
Jeremiah, I've been meaning to talk to you, by the way. Did you see the newest trailer or whatever where they show the Vernestra Rowe light whip? As soon as I saw that, I thought of you.
I saw a picture of it, but I'm like, dang it, why did they spoil that? Like,
I know, but you were so excited to see what it looked like.
And Will is saying in the chat that I am quiet, so that's.
Oh.
I'm already talking to him about it.
Okay. But yeah, I was sad that there's so many spoilers that have come out. Like,
oh, really?
They're just so blatantly obvious. I'm not gonna spoil it on air, but the director was like, "Oh yeah, I don't care that you know this major twist that has come out." Like, why do you not care? Like,
yeah.
But whatever. We're not here to talk about conspiracy theories. But yes, if you want to know more about Vernestra Rowe, who will be in The Acolyte, go watch Grace's, what was it, like a top 10 moments from her life from the High Republic comics and books. So that's a lot of fun. And she also did a cosplay of Vernestra Rowe, who is what was her, Mary Allen. So she painted herself yellowish green.
She looked a little grinchy.
Yeah,
a little grinchy, but it was okay. It worked.
It was definitely rough. I was like, how do these Mary Allens do it all the time? Like being green, it was really hot, kind of uncomfortable, itchy.
Was it kind of nasty? Like you felt?
I did.
When we were done recording, she took off her wig because she was scratching her head the whole time.
Yeah, I had a terrible headache. Would not recommend. That's why I went with a more chill cosplay today.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I saw you didn't put the hat on today.
Oh no.
Just the goggles and hair today, guys.
Exactly.
So gonna stay here for 2 hours. It's not gonna be.
All right.
So the bottom line is cosplaying is not easy, you guys. Yep. So we said that multiple times, but
So thank you for your sacrifice, Grace.
Yes. For the photos that I get with you, I appreciate it.
I would say some heroes don't wear capes, but cosplayers tend to wear capes a lot. So.
That was a good one.
But anyway, we're going on a rant, but that's always fun. But before we jump into the presentation, we have a Spotify Q&A from last week. And so last week, our voicemail from Nate Keeney was one for the books of legendary proportions, because he asked us what our go-to breakfast cereal is, or breakfast meal is. And Drew Andrew and I talked for 25 minutes about breakfast. So, in the honor of that great question, the Spotify question was, what is your go-to breakfast meal? So, we got some answers here. Crow Crazy, who is Cody from the Discord, says sausage from our pigs and eggs from the chickens because he's a farmer. And from a few months ago, he had us brainstorm ideas for names of his little piglet that he's raising. And we suggested
His kids are raising it, right?
him and the kids, yeah, whatever. But they settled on Queel from The Mandalorian.
That was my pick.
Yeah, I'm so mad he didn't do Hemorian Guard, but whatever. Whatever.
That can be next year. I think
year.
Quill's. When you sent me that, I was like, yeah.
But that pig is 141 pounds now, so that's a big boy.
He's quilling already.
Yep. Anyway, R Green 571 says anything cooked by Dex.
Fair enough.
Respect.
Darth Bruno says Fruity Pebbles in blue milk. Love your podcast, by the way. Grace, did you pick up any blue milk that was out during Star Wars?
I think it's still out.
Is it still out?
It was still available at the Twins game, actually.
Oh.
I went to Star Wars night, and it was still available.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. Why didn't you invite me?
My parents bought my tickets, and then all of a sudden Tanner was literally like a row away from me, and it was hilarious because I was like sending pictures. He's like, "Dude, are you here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in this section." He's like, "I'm in this section," and then we just started waving at each other, and then we took photos together. It was fun.
I was like, our Instagram was blowing up. I'm like, why are we getting so many likes? And then I see Drew's at the Twins game with Star Wars, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I should invite you. Okay, next year I'll invite you.
Yep. Anyway,
next year we'll go together.
Aaliyah says Honey Bunches of Oats. That is a sleeper cereal.
That is. I respect that cereal. Life is my favorite cereal, but
cinnamon or regular?
Either or, but prefer, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Nate Keeney, who asked the question, says, to add to my answer in the voicemail, I also love bacon and eggs and toast are just easier to make. Also, Drew, go Mavs.
Okay, dude. What the heck?
Okay. Jakob says a sausage sandwich. And how do you send voicemails? So click the description below, the links.co/Empire Radio. Click on that. There is a link to speakpipe.com, which is where we do all our voicemails. So we love to hear from you, Jakob. And then Easton says Cheerios. Also, it was funny when Andrew mumbled under his breath, "Snitches get stitches." I don't remember that from last week.
I don't remember that either, but...
and he says, sorry, I haven't been active in the comments and voicemails. It took me way too long to watch Tales of the Empire. So, all right. So those are all the answers from Q&A. But Grace,
yes,
you might as well jump in this discussion. What is your go-to breakfast? So we kind of talked about it two different ways. What is your favorite breakfast? And then what is like a common thing that you kind of eat on a regular basis for breakfast?
Okay. Well, my go-to breakfast is probably cereal, and I like all the boring cereals like shredded wheat or I don't know, like grape nuts, like
grape nuts. Oh, that's a deep cut there. I haven't heard that name in 35 years.
Yeah, we always have it at home, so my parents got me hooked on it. But if I'm not doing cereal, I guess some sort of like bagel sandwich. Like bagel and cream cheese is good, but if I want to like take it to the elite level, I do some sort of like bagel, egg, avocado situation.
And
respect.
What is your go-to like type of bagel? Like a plain bagel, or do you like an everything bagel, a honey something bagel, or what?
I'm so glad we're getting into this because bagels are the best. Now I really want a bagel. Probably a sesame seed or everything bagel. That said, in the last year, I have discovered that you can also get sweet bagels. So sometimes I get like a cinnamon sugar bagel or a chocolate chip bagel, and that is honestly incredible.
Awesome. Cool. All right.
Cinnamon raisin bagels slap too.
Oh, so good. Totally agreed.
Yep. All right. We're done talking about breakfast for a while because we've already spent half hour in total between this week and last week. So, Vader comics. Grace, so just kind of tell us what you're going to kind of go over tonight, and then we'll just jump into it.
We have a big task tonight. There are not only like a lot of Vader comic issues that we are going to be discussing just today, but there are 3 different Vader comic runs. So there's the 2015 to 2016 run, which is the one that I'm going to talk about today, and it's also like the first one, or at least the first one that came out in the Disney era. I'm less familiar with the EU. Then there is another run that came out like 2018, 2019. I should have written that down. I did not. Which is actually more of like a prequel. Like it tells the story of like early Vader. And then there's like the current Vader comic run, which I think started coming out in 2020 and is still like ongoing and is theoretically, I think, going to wrap up in the next year or so.
Oh.
So, within each run, there are like a certain number of issues. The one that we're doing today is 25 long, which is a ton. And we obviously will not be able to cover all of like the nuances and intricacies of the story. So instead, what I tried to do is focus just on the parts of the story that focus on Dr. Aphra, because Dr. Aphra is like a cool character, becoming more popular, a character I cosplay a lot, so have liked for a while, and is a pretty big part of the Vader comic. So it gives us like a more manageable storyline to latch onto. So yeah, that's the plan for tonight.
All right, cool. Well, we might as well just jump into it because I know you got a lot to go over. So
amazing. All right. So, a little bit of background on the comics to start. I won't bore everyone with like the history, but basically around 2014, Marvel offered Kieran Gillen, who I guess is a pretty like well-known comic book writer, the chance to do this comic, and it was a little bit difficult to get off the ground because the idea of doing like a Vader-centric comic was both exciting, like people love Darth Vader, he's super cool, but also a little bit daunting because like Vader isn't the most charismatic character. He's like kind of silent and cool, right? Like
Yeah.
how do you have him be the center of a story where he doesn't really talk, where you have to come up with like inner monologue for Darth Vader? And also, how do you keep it from feeling like, number one, really depressing because he's evil, and number two, kind of boring because like the Empire is like kind of, I don't know, monochromatic, a lot of like guys in suits and stormtroopers and all of that. So ultimately the comic decided to focus on like kind of a new era for Vader, Vader who is on the Emperor's bad side after the destruction of the Death Star in A New Hope. A Vader who is searching for the person who destroyed the Death Star but doesn't necessarily know what his identity is yet. Ultimately finds that out in the comic. And a Vader who's like kind of on a redemption arc, but kind of isn't. Like in some of the later Vader comics, like the one that's going on right now, there's a lot more of a like redemption arc, good guy, Anakin's still there vibe. And this one, he's like pretty evil and it's cool, but the comic does a good job of balancing little glimpses of Anakin with like giving us some really cool badass Vader action.
fun.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, I made a little chart from Wikipedia with all the different issues, not really important. As I kind of went over, this is the basic overview of the plot. It's post-destruction of the Death Star. It features a lot of like Vader versus the Emperor. Vader starting to decide that the Emperor is bad news for him, trying to forge his own path, eventually beginning the search for Luke, and then teaming up with Dr. Aphra. So as we'll see as we get into the comic, Aphra becomes Vader's way to kind of do his own thing on the side as he tries to create a little piece of the Empire for himself that's not under the control of the Emperor. And I think that's one of the comic strengths and kind of the general strengths of the Vader comics is that they do a good job of pairing him up with like another character, a more charismatic character, so that when Vader has to be kind of evil and stoic, we have another character like Aphra, like Sabe in the more recent comics, who's talking and keeping us like engaged, even if they're also morally complicated.
So, Sabe is Padme's BFF, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
BFF, yeah.
Which is
Handmaiden, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
because you haven't read any of the Thrawn novels, right?
I have read maybe the first one, but no,
Because
just the first one.
she is in one of them.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
So,
she's in number 2 of
the Imperial era one.
The Imperial era.
In
the first books that came out
in like flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so interesting. Like, what sort of role is she playing?
Oh, we can't spoil it for you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Also, do we need to do a spoiler warning? Like, just in case anyone knows going forward, we will totally be spoiling this comic.
This whole episode is a spoiler warning. So, honestly, everything we cover is always a spoiler warning.
All right.
Like,
great.
Expect to be spoiled if you're clicking Empire Radio.
Yeah.
Great. We've got the legal stuff out of the way. Everyone's on the same page.
We won't get sued now. That's good.
If we do, we got Grace in our,
our
side. So
we have our doctor here waiting. So
all right, let's move on.
I'm doing double duty as doctor and lawyer. Great. Yeah. Okay. But the Save not in this comic, in the current Vader comics, which are also really good and I highly recommend to anyone interested. Okay. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So that's the plot overview. Here's a little tease for what's to come. Vader discovering that Luke is the person that blew up the Death Star, whatever. We'll get into it. Now, a little bit of background on Dr. Aphra. So the basic idea behind Dr. Aphra was to create Indiana Jones in space. And I think they did a pretty good job of that. She is a rogue archaeologist who has more or less given up like the path of having a stable life in academia to travel the galaxy, kind of work as a bounty hunter, kind of work as a criminal, get into lots of trouble along the way. And she's go ahead.
She's pro-Empire.
Well, she's kind of an anti-hero. So, like, in this comic, she does mostly work with Vader, but then she also, in later comics, works with the rebels. Sometimes she works with bounty hunters. Mostly she works for herself, which is, I think, what makes her, like, exciting and interesting and someone you can sometimes cheer for, even if she's, like, totally teamed up with Vader in this comic.
She does whatever benefits her.
Exactly. She's like a slightly less good Han Solo, right? Like Han Solo is a little bit morally complicated. She's like more morally complicated.
Well, Han thinks he's a bad boy, but he's a softie on the inside.
Yeah.
Exactly. And besides being like smart and into history and all of that, she's not force sensitive, but she's good at fighting. And then has these like tattoos that you can see on her arm here, which are called like electro tattoos. And I don't fully understand how they work. And I don't think they're ever explained fully in the comic. But my basic understanding, or what I've convinced myself, is that she can use the tattoos to like tap into technology, and that makes her better at fixing droids, hacking into things, all of that. So she has
she has a little droid in her, essentially.
Yeah, she has some like tech prowess, so it kind of makes her an interesting foil to Vader because he's into droids, she's into droids, all of that.
He is a droid.
That too.
Do we have any information like how old she is? Did you say that?
Yeah, I think she's like 30-ish. There's definitely enough information throughout the comics that you could come up with a specific age because we know roughly when she graduates from her PhD and all of that. But
okay.
Jeremiah loves space age.
Yep, I love space math. I'm always about the years and stuff.
All right. Well, I don't like math in this world or in space. So after the pod, Jeremiah, it's all you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, that's basically all I wanted to say in introduction to her character. Ultimately, she was so popular. The last thing I'll say here is that the initial plan was to have her be a foil for Vader in the comic series and then kill her at the end, but she was so popular that they decided at the very last second not to kill her. And so, spoiler, she survives, and ultimately they do a spin-off Dr. Aphra series, which is still ongoing today, where
But
she has
isn't
own
her
story.
character like? It doesn't someone play her at like Galaxy's Edge 2 and stuff?
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought I saw that.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
No,
Chat, help
I
me
trust
out.
you.
But
yeah, let us know. I would love to see her at Galaxy's Edge. So cool. Ooh, there was one other thing I wanted to say. Breakout character, ongoing. She's funny. Oh yeah, and then the last thing is that because she was so popular, they ended up taking her appearances throughout the 25 issues of the comic and turning them into like a Dr. Aphra audiobook, which gives you kind of the
cool.
entire story from Dr. Aphra's perspective. And that's actually what I listened to first before I read the comic. And if people are interested in Dr. Aphra and her story, that's where I'd recommend you start. It's like 5 hours on Audible. It's funny. It's well, like,
is it a book or is it just an Audible book?
I think you can also buy it as a book, but it's one of those where it's like they made it as an audiobook. So like the book is like a script.
Like a script.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like Dooku Jedi Lost. It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But because of the nature of the Star Wars comics, where like the Darth Vader comics are crossing over with the mainline Star Wars comics, which are crossing over with the like Bounty Hunters comics, the story threads can get like, unless you're reading all the comics, which is kind of like a heavy lift, the story can get kind of confusing. And just listening to like the 5-hour audiobook is like a more clear way to get the actual Dr. Aphra story, and then like you can go back and see the visuals with the comic book, which I liked.
Fun.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so in addition to Dr. Aphra, the other two essential characters for these Vader comics are Dr. Aphra's droids, 000, who looks like 3PO, and BT, which kind of looks like R2. And the basic idea behind these droids was to have them be kind of like the dark 3PO and R2. They're both murder droids that Dr. Aphra repurposes. She's into fixing droids, and like the very start of the comic, we see her, and I'll show you guys in a second, breaking in, like finding this technology that's been locked for like that 300 years or something, because the droids are so dangerous, and bringing them back online so that they can serve her. And they're funny characters. They're totally evil, and ultimately, as the comics progress, they become less loyal to Aphra and Vader and more loyal to themselves as well. So they start having their own adventures and misadventures, which is fun to read.
Cool.
All right. So the story itself, we have this opening crawl, which I figured I would just read out to help us all get oriented. Okay. Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. After the destruction of the Death Star, the disgraced Sith Lord Darth Vader has been demoted by his master, only to have his control be taken by Grand General Tag. And when Vader discovered that a mole has been leaking information to pirate raiders, it was made clear to him that no person can be trusted. Unknown to Emperor Palpatine and Tag, however, Vader is also quietly pursuing his own interest. The mysterious Force-strong pilot who destroyed the Death Star, and the identity of the stranger who is conspiring with the Emperor. But for this, he will need his own personal secret forces. So, this is kind of where the story begins.
Cool.
All right. So here's our introduction to Aphra. As I said, kind of like the first story arc is her breaking into this facility, trying to liberate this droid technology. And as she's in the process, almost getting captured, Vader shows up. And basically, she almost falls over the edge to get this technology, and Vader saves her. And I love this. Very, very dramatic. Dr. Aphra, I have a need of you. So then they go back to Dr. Aphra's ship, the Archangel, and they start talking. And it turns out that Vader needs Dr. Aphra to help him put together a droid army that he can use to combat the Emperor, to serve his own goals. Not exactly clear what he wants to do with the army. It just seems like he wants to kind of amass his own power so that he could someday, try to have a conflict with the Emperor. And one of the initial things you see in this encounter is that the two have a decent amount of respect for each other. Vader has all the power, but Aphra is very excited by the fact that he's good with technology, powerful. She's kind of like intoxicated by him and his presence, and that ultimately ends up being an issue for her down the line. They fix the murder droids, and this is our introduction to BT and 000. Yeah, we don't need to go too much into this.
And I should mention, people who are just listening, that BT has like weapons
guns
that like a big cannon on him and like multi-shot something on him, so he's like pretty dangerous. And then Vader's like holding out his lightsaber, like, hold on. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think the actual name for the droid is like a blastomech or something instead of astromech. It was some sort of like terrible pun.
Funny.
Yeah. And I will get into some more 000 dialogue as we continue, but he has the same sort of like prim and proper way of speaking as 3PO, but like everything he says is like incredibly violent and sadistic, which is funny in comparison to 3PO, who's so prissy and like scared of everything. All right, so they activate the droids, and then Vader and Aphra have this conversation, which I figured I would just read out. Vader says, "You're overly fond of speaking." Aphra says, "I'm nervous. I make my living reactivating weapons like this pair, and you make me nervous. There's something about tall, dark, and able to kill me guys that just makes a girl nervous. What do you want from me? There was a time I had armies at my beck and call. That time has passed. I need resources of my own, private resources." I'm going to keep reading the next page as well. I was abstractly meant to deliver these two droids to the droid Gatra. They had another mission lined up. But you're my next mission, aren't you? And the next, and the next. You're what I've been looking for all my life. Whoa, that just gave me shivers. Then these are yours. What else do you need me to do? I need troops of unquestioning loyalty. Hey, I understand. Who wouldn't want a phalanx of carefully restored battle droids? And then she says, I know where to find them. The droid Gatra wanted me to recover an unusual droid factory. It's under close watch by the Imperials, plus not exactly friendly locals. Best bet. How do you feel about a secret mission to Geonosis, Lord Vader? And then they go on and tells her not to mess up. But yeah, this is kind of the introduction to their first mission, which is to go to Geonosis and reactivate these droids for Vader's army. So I'm curious what you guys thought about that little interaction, because I feel like there's a lot there to discuss.
I don't know. I thought it was cool that like he's so strong, but he's also in need of help of this
stranger,
tiny little woman. Like, cause she describes him as like a tall, strong man that could easily harm her. So like, she's admitting that she's frail in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. And it's like, I guess I didn't realize that Vader didn't have his own resources.
Right?
Like maybe he did, but it's kind of implying that he wants secret resources that he can keep from the Emperor. But
yeah, I think it's more or less like he has them, but he wants them to be loyal to him more than the Emperor. So he needs his own. That's what it feels like. Anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but also Geonosis, like, shouldn't, like, you'd have thought that the Republic would have, like, destroyed everything on Geonosis. Like,
you would think.
Like, it's just like, okay, they had the main one in episode 2, but then they went back for the second Battle of Geonosis, and, like, even then they couldn't get it done. Like,
and I mean, you guys remember from Rebels, like there were those episodes that were set in Geonosis, and I feel like when they're there, like at that point too, the Empire is more or less like wiped Geonosis out. Or like, remember, there are no more Geonosians, like everything's underground. So yeah, like for sure when they're going there, there's going to be very little left.
right.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's also interesting that they kind of have this like weird and flirty dynamic going between Aphra and Vader,
it's
but
kind of awkward.
It is kind of awkward, and I think it's probably not meant to be flirting, but at the same time, like,
definitely comes across as that.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe it's just her confidence and like way of speaking, because she does kind of interact with everyone in this like overly confident way. Okay.
Interesting.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Arrival in Geonosis. So, Aphra asks Vader, "Ever been to Geonosis, Lord Vader?" And then we get this like sad little memory of Anakin and Padme on Geonosis. And Vader says, "Cease your probing." And Aphra says, "I'm a rogue archaeologist. You have to expect a little digging. I expect nothing but compliance and silence." So as you can see, she's already getting on his nerves. And basically they like go underground in Geonosis into those tunnels, and everyone has been killed like we saw in Rebels, but the like queen of the Geonosians, that like bug lady, is still alive and kicking, and in order to get the droids that they need, they have to get past the queen, who's like created some droid children. It's kind of complicated and the sort of thing that like would for sure only be in a comic. I didn't really pull any pictures of it here, but if you read the comic, you could enjoy it. So yeah, basically, here we have Aphra again being impressed by Vader. He protects her here because he needs her to help him with the droids or something, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then they get the droids that they need and leave Geonosis. And then they have this conversation, which ends up being super relevant for later bits of the story. So I figured I would read it out. So Aphra says, "But in a few hours, you'll have your droid army. Some minor tweaks to get it 100%, but nothing that BT can't handle. So, are you planning to kill me now or later? You have a private, off-the-grid army for whatever you're planning. You don't need me anymore. I knew my clock was ticking the second you stepped off your fighter. If I get a choice, I'd like a lightsaber right to the neck. No warning, nice and quick. If I get a veto, ejection into space. Always had nightmares about that. Brr. I act glib, but I'm not stupid. The way I lived, I know I'm lucky to be alive. I'd rather not die, you understand. But I'm happy my blood is doodling the margins of a story worth telling." So
it's pretty dark.
Yeah, super dark.
Hey, I mean, if I'm going to get killed by a lightsaber, I want to be quick and easy. I don't want to like see it come into my chest, and I have to like wait like X amount of minutes before I die. Like,
well, and then half the time it doesn't even work. So
exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
What about force choke though? Like, but Aphra seems very concerned about going out into space. Like, is that really like so much worse than like force choke? Force choke seems pretty bad.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Like sitting there and you can't do anything. This guy's choking you to death.
Yeah.
I'd rather him just break my neck.
He does that too sometimes.
Just a little, like if you're choking me, just do a little twist with the wrist, and then
A flick of the
Yeah.
wrist, as the kids would say.
yeah, flick. Okay, no,
That's a deep. That's probably before Grace's time.
Yeah, I don't get it. Please explain.
no
It's,
way, really.
it's from a song. Like anyway, but this is from a lyric from a song from our younger days.
We're old, Jeremiah.
Yeah. Grace is still pretty young compared to us.
Pretty young. I also maybe just missed the song. Like, you guys know I'm not the most on top of culture. It's not Star Wars.
Well, honestly, Star Wars is all that matters, so it's okay.
Exactly.
You're on top of the right culture. A flick
Thank
of the
you.
wrist. You're not missing anything. I promise you.
But if you ever start watching Star Trek, we'll have an intervention with you, Grace. We'll track you down.
Okay.
Was that supposed to be a pun?
Kind of, not really.
It definitely sounded like we'll trek you down. I'm like, no.
That's funny. Oh man, gosh, I just can't keep up with Jeremiah tonight. He's getting all the zingers.
It's like your 10th time using that today.
I feel like I'm gonna use it a lot.
All right, Grace, let's keep going.
Okay. I'll keep going. Yeah. All right. That's it for this. Oh yeah, I was gonna read off the rest of them, their interaction, I suppose. And I like the art here because you can see that Aphra goes from being kind of like cocky and confident to like looking legitimately scared as the interaction continues. Vader says, "You have proved yourself resourceful. You are safe as long as I have use for you. If you try to blackmail me, you will find your plans confounded and your life at an end. You know, you can trust me, but you shouldn't. I am a walking, talking, stupid risk," Aphra says. "You need to win, Lord Vader. This is for a higher cause. When you need to do it, do it. And lightsaber, please." All right. So, like another ongoing story plot that I'm not going to super focus on in this presentation, but which is in the background of the like 25 issues is this like Dr. Clio, who is working for the Emperor, kind of creating like this army of not force sensitive, but like technologically enhanced individuals who could be, I don't know, competitors to Vader, assets to the Emperor. It's kind of unclear. He's kind of a mad scientist sort of figure, and he's causing issues for Vader at every turn. So ultimately, here, Aphra and Vader need to go and infiltrate this guy's
they're in a
base.
Naboo starfighter.
Yeah, exactly. In order to get some information. But yeah, that's why I took these pictures, basically only for this reason. And the fact that we get to casually see the fact that Vader is flying Padme's old ship.
Dang, that's crazy. And dark.
Yeah, really dark.
And
Really
sad
dark.
and depressing.
Like super depressing.
Lyra clothes are still in the closet, and he like sniffs them to like remember.
Oh, Jeremiah, no.
It's probably true though.
Oh, that's so grim.
You have done that yourself.
But when he smells it, it's his like mask sound, so it's like.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, yeah, here he is flying Padme's ship, going to this like scary mad scientist base.
So sorry, the mad scientist guy, did you say he was working for the Empire, or he was just?
Yeah, he's working for the Emperor, but like not with Vader. So the Emperor's like using him to create like a Vader alternative in case Vader doesn't work out, basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So at this point, he doesn't have a lot of faith in Vader anymore either.
No, yeah, basically like Vader's in the doghouse because of the whole Death Star destruction situation.
Interesting.
That would do it.
Yeah. Plus he's getting old, I guess. The Emperor's looking for like a young replacement, which ultimately he decides to go with Luke. But in the meantime, he's working with this mad scientist to see if they can get an alternative. All right. So yeah, they invade this base. It's cool. They're working together. Don't need to get into the details too much. Ultimately their like mission is successful. They're able to get the intel that they needed, and they my headphone fell out. They have this little interaction, which ends up being really important. So Vader says launch immediately, and he's in a bad mood. And Aphra says, Lord Vader, this would not be a good time to bait me, Aphra. I know. I have a message from the other bounty hunter, Boba Fett. He caught up with the boy and he wants to report. So, okay, I'm just going to keep reading because it's good. So we see a little thing that on the screen that says later. And Boba Fett says, I lost him, Vader. That is most disappointing. Boba Fett, he got lucky. Did you bring me anything of value, bounty hunter? Not much. Just his name, Skywalker.
Dang.
Right? Really good, really good. I think the actual like battle between Boba Fett and Luke might be in the like mainline Star Wars comics, but I haven't read all of those, so I'm not positive.
That'd be cool.
I didn't even realize that was a story.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's the cool thing about the comics is like not only do they get to play around with characters like Aphra who they just make up, but they also like are filling in some pretty meaty details about like, I don't know, where these main characters were and what they were thinking about between the movies.
Yeah, because I think between episodes 4 and 5, it's like 2 years. So, like a lot happens apparently. Like,
exactly.
They're not just sitting on Hoth for 2 years.
That sounds really grim. So yeah, we have this like really sad, beautiful picture of Boba Fett heading out, Vader remembering the fact that moment when Padme told him that she was pregnant.
Oh gosh.
Then we have this like classic memory of right when Vader like recovers after Mustafar asking where Padme is and the Emperor lying to him, and you see like Vader getting more and more angry as he realizes that the Emperor lied to him, and he gets so angry that he ultimately ends up like cracking the glass with the Force on this like spaceship or wherever he's standing, and immediately demands to talk to the Emperor about the situation. So that's where we have this. The Emperor now.
This is when he figures out that he didn't kill the kids.
Exactly.
Because it's not until episode 5, right, when
I'm your father.
Well, that, but like when there's that scene when Vader talks to Palpatine, like with the hologram, he's like the son of Anakin Skywalker's. Like that's episode 5, right?
Yes. So he doesn't confront in the end. He has this like talk with the Emperor and doesn't actually confront him because they stay true to the canon.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. The only thing he says, which I thought was worth like pulling out from the conversation with the Emperor, was this. He doesn't admit that he knows about Luke, but he says, I am angry. You would not have me otherwise. My anger brought me to you. I want you to know that I will not fail. And I understand us precisely. And then we see an image of Vader staring at the cracked window. We see images of Padme before she died in the coffin. We see Luke blowing up the Death Star. And then we see Vader saying, as he looks out the window, I have a son. Right?
That's heavy, bro.
Yeah. But beautiful. Like, who knew this? Like, Star Wars was out there, like, and totally slept on.
Well, we did. We didn't know, but you're educating us right now.
That's why we're paying you the big bucks, Grace, to help us out.
Well, I try. I also think that the Vader was already kind of like trying to do his own thing, but this moment in the comics is like really the switch
really
where
foreshadows.
he just like starts going his own way, and then eventually is like able to break away from the Emperor enough to actually achieve redemption, or kind of, yeah.
Cool.
All right, so, oh yeah, I thought this was a really pretty picture, so just kept it. Oh yeah, and Vader says, "He will be mine. It will all be mine."
Fun.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Good dad behavior. All right. So the next mission arc in the comic is a mission with Vader and Aphra going to Tatooine. Here's the like picture of the comic issue, which is like the classic Vader in front of the little hut from the Phantom Menace. And then I figured I'd just read the opening crawl for this one too to help orient us. Okay. Book 2, Part 1, Shadows and Secrets. Disorder engulfs the galaxy after the destruction of the Death Star by the mysterious, force-strong rebel pilot, the Sith Lord Darth Vader, was deemed responsible by his master, Emperor Palpatine, now pursuing his own agenda, the pilot's identity. Vader recruited bounty hunter Boba Fett and archaeologist Dr. Aphra. Pitted by the Emperor against a new array of rivals for his position in the Empire, Vader's rage at being doubted was compounded by an even more shocking revelation. The rebel pilot he sought was actually the son he never knew he had. Now, alongside Aphra, the Sith Lord returns to his home planet of Tatooine, to the former homestead of the pilot, following a trail left behind by Boba Fett and young Skywalker. All right. So this is like the opening shot of the comic, which is again so pretty and like a classic, I don't know, redo of the Luke in A New Hope scene. So Aphra asks, "What are we looking for?" And she then says, "This place is dead. It's been dead for weeks. No one alive, nothing inside. The boy who destroyed the Death Star lived here. He left when his family was slain." So yeah, Vader and Aphra are like poking around the Lars homestead. They're trying to find information about Luke. Basically, in the end, they don't really find any information, but it's like a cool mission that we have Vader at the Lars homestead on Tatooine, thinking about Luke. Kind of random that Dr. Aphra is there, but also shows how deep she's getting into this whole like scheme and intrigue with Vader, and also kind of foreshadowing the fact that like he's going to want to try to kill her at the end because she just knows too much to be kept alive at this point. So Vader says, "There is perhaps a trace of his presence." And then Aphra says, "Force stuff. Understood. I'll leave it to you." And Vader goes and like pokes around with the Force and does that thing where you like use the Force to like look at events that already happened. Do you guys remember what that's called?
Psychometry, something like that.
All right. Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds right. So he
I
does
didn't know that
that.
he had that ability.
Yeah. Well, do I have a picture? Oh, yeah, right here. You can see him doing it. He's like reaching out. He sees Luke and Boba Fett fighting on Tatooine. And he talks about how strong in the Force Luke is. And then, I pulled this out because I thought it was funny. He's like using psychometry to watch events that already happened, and he sees that Luke is strong but untrained, and he says, "You had 20 years, Obi-Wan, hiding the boy in the one place I would never return, the cunning. But in this, you are a failure." So, I don't know. I think it's funny that he's getting mad at Obi-Wan for not training Luke properly, which I kind of feel the same way about, but
Yeah. He had all the time in the world, but
right? Like, okay, fine. Wait till he's like 15 or something. But at 15, he should have been doing some lightsaber training. What was Obi-Wan doing?
or at least some push-ups or something. I don't know.
Just at least, yeah. Good point. Improving his diet, like small fixes would have been helpful.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, I also liked this exchange between Vader and Aphra. So I figure I'll read that out and then we'll finish up the Tatooine arc. But Aphra says, I guess it's an irony. If the boy was here when the jackboot came down, the Empire would still have a Death Star. But if the family wasn't killed, maybe he'd have never left. Revenge is one hell of a motivator. And then Vader says, You are correct. We are too late. Let's move on. And basically, they like move on. They ultimately end up they find Obi-Wan's like old home and hiding place, and they end up destroying it. And then they basically set out on their next mission, which is for Aphra to go collect and verify some information related to Luke, and a lead that Vader has for her. So yeah, that's the end of the Tatooine story.
Interesting. But when you're trying to track down a son that's long lost,
yes,
and you don't know what to do, sometimes you just need to take a break, take a chill pill, and enjoy a warm beverage of some sorts like coffee or tea. And once again, coincidentally, our sponsor for tonight is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. So if you have a long lost son that you're looking for, take a listen to this commercial because it's just for you tonight.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code EMPIRERADIO, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's continue with this presentation. So we might as well just jump into it.
All right. So after going to Tatooine, realizing that Luke is out there and that the Emperor is like bad news, Vader and Aphra decide that they need some like resources for their schemes. So they come up with this, again, like somewhat complicated plot where basically Vader is going to go and like stop a drug cartel and confiscate all of their money and like do it in the name of the Empire, and that money is going to like be transported back to the Empire for like processing or whatever. And while he's transporting the money, Aphra and her crew of bounty hunters are going to swoop in and like ambush them and steal the money, and then Vader is going to be able to take that money and use it for his plans. So
this is Vader's idea, or did they come up with this together?
Honestly, almost certainly it's Aphra's idea, but like maybe Vader was somewhat involved in the planning.
I feel like Anakin could make a better plan than that, but I don't know. Like sometimes, like I feel like Vader is very inconsistent, and like I should say, Disney is very inconsistent in how they present Vader. Because like in the one Thrawn book that he's in, he's just basically Anakin being a whiny, complaining brat. And like here, he feels like he's kind of like powerless, and like he's just like, let's have you steal this money. Like I don't know. And then like in Obi-Wan, he's more like kind of
Vader.
Like Vader, but like he's like has like relationship problems with his former master. Like he's just kind of like. But anyway,
he's a broken person physically and mentally and emotionally.
Yep. But
So I guess like maybe that explains the inconsistency. But I know what you mean. I feel like it's a comics thing. Sometimes the comics are like, because it's a comic book, maybe it just like goes kind of like really hard and is super weird and complicated. Because maybe they know they would never be allowed to do it in a show. I don't know, but yeah.
all right.
Well, and I feel
Anyway.
like the shows, we've said this multiple times, but like they are more canon than the books and comics. So I feel like
Yeah.
still like to this day, even though like the whole point of this whole retconning everything that has come before that is to make it feel more connected.
Hmm.
But more and more shows are coming out and more things are making you second guess everything that they've done written wise. Like
Yeah.
there's always like a book that comes out and we're like, this is the best ending to this character, and then a show or something will come out and change the whole thing. We're like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah, like we just did the Master and Apprentice review last week,
Yeah.
and we talked about like continuity issues, and we're like,
Mm,
well, technically the movies and shows trump books, so I guess what's in the
yeah.
shows is more accurate than the books. But
Well, and the same thing like the Ahsoka.
oh,
The
Yeah.
Tales of the Jedi like ruined the Ahsoka book
they
essentially.
completely retcon that entire book.
And the
Yeah.
Master and Apprentice, right? Like it's both the Dooku story and the Ahsoka story
Yeah.
are kind of like, I remember being annoyed and confused when that came up. You guys are bringing back the trauma. Yeah.
Oh, we apologize. So we might as well keep going. Let's keep
No,
going.
no, yeah.
There'll be a Vader show that will ruin all the comics for you, Grace. Don't worry.
No. Would you guys want to see a Vader show? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like people have talked about it.
Oh, heck, a live action Vader show like after like
I think it'd be cool.
Kenobi would be so dope.
Well, I would rather have like an Inquisitorious like series where it's Vader training the Inquisitors, and then like them going out and hunting Jedi, and then like you see like the missions where like all those people that were like in the gold like chambers that
Mhm.
Obi-Wan finds, like see some of those stories of like how they got killed and captured by the Inquisitorious. I think that would be cool, but I don't think Disney would make a strictly violent, evil story where there's no good.
Well, if they did like a Dr. Aphra story and
Right?
built around Vader is in that mostly. Like they can do her story. And I think that'd be a really honestly that'd be a cool movie to have like their version of
Mm.
like I don't know, like I think it would be
It'll
kind of
be
cool.
it would be Indiana Jones in Star Wars, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel
Or-
like it would bring a lot of eyes like all the non like stories and stuff, and like I feel like that'd be a cool movie to do that wouldn't like take people, oh, this isn't canon, like it's separate, like the Solo movie, you know, like they did something
Mm.
like that with like Dr. Aphra, especially if her character is like so sought after now to the point where they end up not even killing her off even though they're going to.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would be really cool, and then you can add Vader in it and have cool Vader scenes, but then not focused around Vader to the point where like they did a Vader show or something. You have to go like
Yeah.
we wanted R or nothing, you know, like they need to just like force choke and like tear people apart literally. Like that's what we'd want for that show. So they
Yeah.
can't give us that. So if we got like a little bit here and there via through Dr. Aphra, I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I agree. And I like you said, Drew, I feel like they could use they have like a good thing going with the comics. So they could do exactly what they've done with the comics, but like make it live action. So we
I'm just
actually get to see
afraid
all that.
they would literally just retcon it though.
I
Like
know.
which they probably would. Like there'd be things like, well, we can't do that, or we could do this better. Like why would the writer do this? You know, because like some of the directors and writers on movies and stuff, like what I mean with any like book to movie scenario, right? They pick and choose what they want out of it. Like the Harry Potter books or the Lord of the Rings, like they pick what they want, and like they'll always leave out like a character essentially. Like Lord of the Rings, they leave out an entire character just because they just didn't want to fit it in or didn't have time. And then
Yeah.
or like the whatever the Hobbit book, There's one book, the smallest one, all of them, and somehow we made 3 movies out of it. It had nothing to do with it. Like, so like they just choose what they want. So I feel like they might do it like that way, where they just pick what they want out of it. And
yeah, unfortunate. All right. Well, anyway, we're far away from them actually doing that, maybe. So,
well, I don't know. The announcement tomorrow, we could be like on the edge.
Wow, breaking news. See, I
You heard
like
it here
that.
first, folks. You heard it here first.
I'm calling it right now. I feel it in the force.
Putting our
Vader,
bets.
Dr. Aphra movie is coming out 2030 or 2030, I should say.
Oh my gosh. All right. So basically, yeah, I'm gonna zip through this, but they do this credit heist. Aphra recruits some bounty hunters to work for her.
Is that what's his name?
This guy?
Black
Yeah,
Chrysanthemum?
Yeah, Black Chrysanthemum. Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
he's a big player kind of in this one, but in the like future Dr. Aphra comics, he and Aphra work together a lot. So
that's cool.
If you liked him in Book of Boba Fett, you can get more on his backstory via Dr. Aphra.
Does he have his own story?
His
like
own
comic
comics?
books? For some reason I thought he did.
I buy it. He gets some backstory in the Aphra comics, but there are some bounty hunter comics. Like
I think there's bounty hunter ones that he's.
So maybe he's in those.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I haven't read them. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna read the opening crawl because I already basically explained the plot of this little story. So you can see they attack the ship and they have this plan where like all the credits like go into space and then they like grab the credits or something. And they have like a whole scheme where Black Chrysanthemum is like double agent. He's a bounty hunter, but he's also working for Aphra and Vader. And so they like scam all the other bounty hunters and keep the credits for themselves. And then Vader shows up and he's like, great, you did well. This is just what I wanted. And basically, he then gives Aphra her next mission, which is when things get juicy again. And her next mission is to basically like go verify some information for Vader. And the place that she has to verify the information ends up being on Naboo. So they go to my favorite planet. It's coming. Yeah. So Aphra goes to this whatever other random planet in search of information about a guy or a lead that Vader gives her. I looked back at the comic today and it's not really explained. He just hands her a data stick and then she's like off to this planet. And she uses the credits they just stole to get information. And the guy is like, why did you even like ask for this information? It's so basic. The guy that you're looking for is just some like random guy on Naboo. And the droids agree. They're like, what are you doing, Dr. Aphra? 3000 says, I have to agree with BT Mistress. This Comodex Ton doesn't sound like somebody who could possibly be of interest to the master. Probably not. I mean, just a boring career in the family business. They were morticians on Naboo, and she's smiling and like excited as they head off on their ship towards Naboo. So here we are on Naboo. They invade this guy's house and capture him. And Vader has a conversation with the guy, the mortician, whose name is Comodex Ton. And he says to her, so you're going to kill me no matter what I do. You're not giving me much motivation to help, miss. I'm sorry, but that's not going to be something you have any say in, Comodex Ton. Comodex who? If you're going to lie, you need to try harder than that. And then there's this little like plaque that's been translated from Arabic that says, presented to Comodex Ton for services to Naboo by Padme Amidala. And then Aphra says, you're Comodex Ton. You prepared Senator Amidala's body for burial. We need your fond, nostalgic memories of that sad time. If you knew her, You wouldn't speak. So, I have no idea what you want, but I won't ever betray her. She was a great queen, a good queen. And Aphra says, a good queen? I guess a good queen is a good thing, but I'd take a strong queen over a good queen any day. And then Ton says, the ends justify the means. Easy to say when you're not the means. So I would say, yeah, not only is this dark, but this is also kind of like the start of a little villain arc for Aphra. She's pretty cold in these scenes, very critical of Padme, very focused on the mission, very willing to, kill this guy if it means that she's able to get the information that she wants. Yeah, and then Aphra kind of continues her little monologue, and this is the first like bit of backstory that we get on Dr. Aphra. Again, all this backstory is later like built on, whatever, as I try to mine the character. She says, when you were playing courtier on Naboo, I was trying to grow up living in a galactic war. I had a mom who pretended we weren't. And then I'm going to keep reading a bit of dialogue for the next bit of the exchange. Homestead on the frontier, a brave, spiritual life on a new world after a split from Dad. The thing with wars is that war doesn't get you all the scum, doesn't get you all the scum, opportunists profiting from the chaos. Raiders came. Mom told me to run. I did. But I came back with this awesome cannon I found in a cave I was exploring and blew them all to pieces. I saved everyone. And Dad came back. We all lived happily ever after. And now I spend my time wandering the galaxy, recovering awesome cannons. My mom definitely didn't die in a ditch on a dead-end forest world we only went to because she was idealistic. And then Comedex Ton says, I'm sorry. Weren't you listening? There was a war going on. Everyone has a sob story. Boo-hoo for everyone. So yeah, I guess Aphra grew up like during the the Civil War between the Separatists and the Republic, and I thought this was like a little interesting anecdote because we see the way that war was impacting the rest of the galaxy outside of like the main characters, especially the Jedi that we are so focused on, especially during the Clone Wars when we just see Anakin and Ahsoka going on cool missions.
Right.
And Aphra says, point being, if you're not a strong queen, good doesn't mean anything. And strong and order beats good, but weak on every planet in the galaxy from now until the end of time. And Ton says, Amidala was good and strong. And Aphra says, not strong enough. And then she says, 000, get him talking. So yeah, basically Aphra is like, I'm just gonna let the droid torture him, and the torture takes place, and then basically the guy is ready to talk to her, and Aphra confronts him about, whether or not Padme was actually pregnant. She says, Amidala's hologram, when she was buried, made her appear like she was still pregnant. But you, Mr. Mortician, were one of the few people who had any access to the body. You know the truth. Senator Amidala had given birth to a son, right? She had a son. The Jedi took him, that boy, and put him into hiding. This can all be over if you just confirm what we already know. And then he says, yes, she had a son, a healthy boy. They took him away. I don't know anything else. Forgive me, my queen. And then with that, Aphra walks out of the room and tells 000 to finish up.
So is he lying about there being a daughter? Or does he only think that was a son?
Probably lying because she didn't ask that question.
Exactly.
And then they say hologram that made it look like she was pregnant?
Yeah. Because when she died at her funeral.
I remember that, but I thought they just put like a pillow under her dress, like to make it look like it was a hologram.
Well, probably from what Vader got was a hologram of the funeral.
I think it was like they used a hologram, like hologram projection of Padme's body to like make it look like she was pregnant.
Oh.
Which like whatever, it's weird, but also it's Star Wars, so like I guess a pillow is like that's too simple. They have their high tech, so they wanted to use a hologram.
I guess.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I forget though. In the other like the more recent Vader comics, they get into this all a bit more. Like Sabe gets into it, and there might have been a reason why they wanted to hide her body or something. I think they wanted to hide her body so that Vader couldn't find it later and realize that she wasn't pregnant when she died. Something like that.
Probably.
Yeah. I think the rebellion was involved, but I don't remember exactly. If anyone knows, please feel free to let us know. All right. So Aphra says, so there's a possible Naboo heir out there. Vader will be glad to know the full story. At this point, I think that Aphra is starting to like put the pieces together about what's going on, but she doesn't actually confront Vader about it in this like 25 issue comic run, which I think is a little disappointing. They do eventually have a confrontation when Aphra more or less lets on that she knows that like Luke is Vader's son, but they make you wait
That's
for it.
weird. So like she knew the whole time, but she actually didn't tell Vader right away.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She knows that like Luke is Vader's son. I would say like from this point it seems, but she doesn't tell him that she knows. Probably for self-preservation purposes, but yeah.
I still don't know why Padme didn't know she was pregnant with twins. Like that's the biggest loophole in the whole story of Star Wars is she even like says to Anakin like our child. Like she talks about like a single baby.
Yeah.
But how she didn't go to the doctor though.
Why not?
She's a senator. She doesn't. She
Because
probably has
I think
access to the best.
wasn't she hiding? Like wasn't she
Oh.
trying not to let people know that she was pregnant because they don't want anyone to assume because her relationship with Anakin was so strong that they didn't want anyone to think like even Obi-Wan when he bumped into her when he went to her quarters, she's like that kid is Anakin's like he knew right away as soon as he saw her that she was pregnant, but she's been hiding like this whole time.
I don't think she was really hiding it though.
I think she was because she was like in her home and like she wasn't doing certain things.
But she was out and about doing stuff. I know she like when she tells Anakin like she's wearing like a big poofy dress, but like I feel like a lot of pregnant women do that.
Well, yeah, like she hid it from the public, but like maybe she didn't want leaks and rumors to come out. Because if it was not Anakin, whose is it?
But even then, she could have done medical stuff like she could have got like a droid to just like.
You're thinking too much.
I'm just saying. She should have knew she had two babies in her.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a good thing because if Anakin would have known that, I don't know, it might have been different.
You think?
He would have been looking for if his son was alive, he would have been looking for the other kid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Because if there's twins, like, and one of them survived, where's the other one? So he would have been searching for Leia the entire time. Do they talk about when he figures out Leia is, or does
he doesn't even
know?
That's not till episode 6 because he's like a sister. You have a sister. Maybe I can make her turn. That's in episode 6, and that's what made him like attack.
Yeah,
like Luke attack harder because his attachment caused him to fight for them rather than.
But doesn't Luke figure that out though before they figured it out that he had a sister? Because then he go up to Leia right before he went to surrender.
Yeah.
So, like,
but
everyone else.
Did Palpatine and like Vader figure that out through him thinking about Leia?
Yeah.
Or what? It's not from them figuring it out.
No.
Themselves.
It was in that moment Vader senses Luke's
thoughts.
Like attachment and thoughts to Leia, who's out there in the battle. And he's like, well, if you're not going to turn to the dark side, maybe I can make her turn. And that's when Luke kind of snaps. But
yeah. Yeah. But I'm with you, Jared. It's like an unnecessary plot hole too, right? Like they could have done maybe they couldn't have because they need Vader to not know to be looking for a second child, but they could have done something in the prequels to at least show that like Padme was aware. It's weird. It's weird.
She was aware once.
Well, and she also did. She already had a second name ready to go, like Luke,
Yeah.
and then Leia. Like, if
but
you
that's
didn't know
normal,
you had,
though.
I don't know. Like
we have a girl name that we haven't used yet, or probably will never use.
But Padme didn't seem shocked when a second baby popped out. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know this was good, but I wasn't ready for this."
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you always have a second name backup, just in case.
Do you know what your name would have been if you were a girl?
Andrea.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, basically, yeah, the Andrew or Andrea. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's cute. I like that.
I think I was supposed to be a Samantha. I think
I remember your mom saying that. My mom always talks about like what our girl names would have been.
Really?
Because she has 4 boys, so she doesn't have any daughters.
And like my little brother, like up until he was born, they thought he was like 99% a girl. Like they thought he was a girl. And Phil, they thought he was a girl the entire time. So they had all the clothes.
Oh no!
Like they did everything for him. Like they thought, because when they did the ultrasound stuff, he was hiding himself. So they just thought it was like not his hand. They thought it was not a boy. So like they like literally got everything. They had the name. They told us all of it, and then like, gotcha.
I remember.
I've never heard of that happening. That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when Phil was born. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But Grace, you know what your name would have been if you were a boy?
I do, but it's so embarrassing. I'm not gonna
why?
tell you guys.
It's not your name. It's not embarrassing. Why?
I don't know. I just like the thought of a boy's name.
We have to know now. Like,
it was Stuart.
Stuart?
Yeah.
Oh,
like Stuart Little? That's pretty cool.
That's not
like Stuart Little, exactly.
I thought it was gonna be some crazy.
Can you imagine?
Weird...
Like I dodged a bullet big
I thought
time.
It was, like if it was like Frank or like something intense.
No offense to any of our fans.
If you're a Frank out there, go
or
Stuart.
Stuart
for you, but
yeah,
like,
good names.
I don't know, Stuart's cool.
Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So basically, Vader and Aphra meet up after she discovers this new lead on Naboo. And Aphra's kind of baiting Vader at this point. They have this little exchange where she says, "That's my report. In short, your sources were right." And Vader says, "Did you discover anything else?" And Aphra says, "Nothing really. I mean, he really loved her. Sounds like she was something special." And then she just kind of looks at him and it's awkward. He doesn't say anything. Yeah, and then he gives Aphra her next mission, which is to go and continue looking for Luke, basically. So next mission is underway. Aphra is like tracking down information about Luke with the same source that helped her get the information that she needed about Naboo. And basically, Vader is just like, pay them as much money as they want. Like, we have all these credits now, like, use them. So she goes to this guy, this crime lord. I kind of forget what his name is. Does it say anywhere? The Auntie or something. And he's like, I know where the Skywalker boy is. He's on the planet Vrogus Voss. Yeah, his name is the Auntie. Okay, and then Aphra's like, great, sounds good, I'll be off. And just in that moment, Vader shows up with like a bunch of Imperial soldiers, because basically at this point the Emperor is starting to get suspicious. He's like, Vader, what are you up to? Like, I'm going to assign you like your own little Imperial minder, this guy named I don't know how to say the name without it sounding like Thanos, but I think his name is Thanoth. This guy. And his basic job is to look into what happened to all those Imperial credits that got stolen. So this guy is tracking the credits to this planet where Aphra is, and Vader is like forced to play along with it all. So basically they're about to catch Aphra, and Vader has to at the very last second like use the Force to like kill this guy and then kill this guy who Aphra was literally just talking to and who was about to rat her out so that she can get away. And this is more or less the beginning of the end for the relationship between Vader and Aphra, because at this point she's like becoming a liability, and he doesn't want to get caught, and therefore he's going to try to
She could be
eliminate her.
next at any point.
Yeah, exactly. So Vader says she will not escape and like starts going after her. And he encounters her just as she's about to get on her ship and fly away. And Aphra says, "Hi, boss. This is tight, but I can get away." And then he says, "Do not struggle." He ignites his saber and starts force choking her. So things are looking bad. But she manages to croak out, "I know where the boy is." And he immediately drops her and says, "Tell me." And this is where she starts to play her cards and says, "I will, but I'll tell you later." Because she doesn't want to get immediately killed. And he stands there for a second and then says, "I." And then she says, "I." And then he says, "Silence. You will answer for this." And like brings down the ceiling on top of them, which basically allows Aphra to like get on her ship and get away. And just as she's getting away, the Imperials catch up. And this Thanos guy is like, "Lord Vader, are you?" And then Vader's like, "She prepared a trap and got away." And the guy is like, traps. And basically he's like, "Don't worry, I have a backup plan. Like, we'll get her as she's like going away from the planet." And they are about to catch her again. And Vader eventually manages to convince this guy that it would be like a waste of Imperial resources. And Aphra is able to escape. And so we see her saying here, "Whew, I'm going to live." And 000 just reminding her in the background, "For now, Mistress Aphra." Because at this point, not only has she messed up, but she's basically blackmailed Vader, which is something he specifically said not to do.
Fun.
So this is where we are. This little last scene is where we're going to end off today. We're not going to go through the entire story because we want to leave you guys in suspense and have something to cover on Comics with Grace next time. But Aphra basically arranges a rendezvous with Vader on this remote planet. And I'll read out the exchange because it's not so long. 000 says, "Mistress Aphra, I must question your wisdom in coming here. If I am not very much mistaken, manipulating Master Vader by withholding information is the sort of behavior one would classify as blackmailing him. He was quite clear about what would result. Though it does make a droid wonder how he'll exactly terminate you. Yes, BT, he certainly could do that. Ooh, or that. Guys, not helping at... So now Vader shows up. Well, Vrogus Voss. The boys on Vrogus Voss. And so then Vader says, "I am surprised to see you here, Aphra. I send you a message and run, you'll hunt me down and kill me. I figure the only chance of me surviving is showing that I am trustworthy. I want to work for you. I've shown what I can do. I can't do anything for you when I'm dead. Keep me alive. Hopefully." And then Vader says, "The past few days have given me an appreciation of your talent. Do not make me regret this." And then as he's walking away, Aphra says, "One of these days, I hope we're going to get, she says, one of these days, I hope we're going to get past this. Is he going to murder me this time stage of our relationship?" Which is cute and funny and like whatever. And then basically he walks away and, wait, sorry, no, I'll read out the rest of the exchange. It's still important. But Vader just doesn't respond, and he says, "Vrogus Voss, a pointless rock. Why?" "No idea. Apparently there's some old Jedi temple there. Maybe sightseeing? There is no known temple there. Know that if this is some manner of trick, I will know who is responsible. And you are correct. I would find you. And Aphra says, understood. And then they part ways, and like the next bit of the comic goes forward. But from this point in the comic onwards, they do continue to work together, but there's definitely a little bit more of a divide because some of the trust has been fractured, and Aphra starts to realize that if she wants to stay alive, she's going to have to begin playing a little bit of a game of her own in order to like both give Vader what he wants and also walk away with this from the situation with her life. So, I'm going to stop going through the plot there and just like give you guys a chance to react. I also have some like general thoughts about Aphra as a character I could end with if that would be useful.
Yeah, you can finish your thoughts on her, and then we'll give our thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, so I kind of I don't want to spoil the rest of the presentation, so I'll leave it here, but
Okay.
I generally like the Darth Vader comics were the first comics that I really got into within the Star Wars comics realm, and I probably got into them because of Dr. Aphra as a character. I think she's like such a fun foil to Vader. I also love the Vader comics because they give you such like incredible, I don't know, insight into what he's thinking about and like a bit more of the emotion behind like a character who's already a cool badass. And I would just highly recommend to anyone to not only dive into this comic series, but also explore some of the other Vader comics. And if you're as into Aphra as I am and a fan of a character who can be both like a total nerd and also like, you know, a cool anti-hero fighting and stealing and getting up to no good in a galaxy far, far away, yeah, I'd recommend you read the Aphra comics as well.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I really like it because I knew that Dr. Aphra and Vader like worked together, but I didn't know like
to what extent.
Yeah, like what it was really about. I think I knew she was like an archaeologist type person, but it's cool that the story is centering around Vader finding Luke, like searching for Luke. Like that's cool because in the movies, original trilogy, it's kind of like he has no clue until like Palpatine tells him, but he was able to figure it out. So
yeah, I think it's really cool. That story arc is really sweet and like something that I didn't know, and I feel like a lot of listeners that haven't read those comics understood like the whole time Vader was also trying to find Luke and not just the rebellion, because like you said, Jeremiah, like a lot of that the original trilogy, you're thinking that he's just trying to find the rebellion, not necessarily just Luke.
Right.
And like that whole exchange really happens at the end of episode 5 is when you realize that there's actually a connection there and there's something deeper than just finding the rebellion and like ending the rebellion. So it's like Vader already knew that at this point he already knew that ending the rebellion is not just ending Luke. Ending Luke would help end the rebellion, but he was holding those cards close because he didn't want Palpatine to know that himself, because I think it seemed like Vader really wanted to have that interaction with Luke before Palpatine did, because one, like, we already know that Vader and Palpatine were on like the fence already at this point too, which like you don't really see that as much in the movies. So to see that they're already kind of on the fence with each other, like Vader could be trying to get Luke to help him defeat Palpatine already, 100%. Which is interesting to think about, or just to the point where like
his line anyway, like you and I together could defeat the Emperor. Like he already like
he has that.
He was looking in the mirror and practicing this speech for like years
instead of just like a week. So he's like, it's really cool. It adds more depth to the original trilogy, and then adding this character and her whole concept of her character is to be able. She's finding this information for Vader, but then she's also like at this point, and where we just left off, like she's also trying to play her cards close too, just how
Mm.
Vader is with Palpatine. So I think it's a really cool story arc, and I understand why they wouldn't want to kill her off at this point, because I feel like there's so much they can do with her character and like the relationship between her and Vader, and figuring out that is, you can always just build on that. So it's kind of cool.
I totally agree. I agree.
Yeah. And it's like, I was just thinking how maybe the reason he wants, because like Drew mentioned, you know, doesn't want Palpatine to know that Vader's trying to find somebody he could train to like overthrow Palpatine. But like, I was also just thinking there, like, how at the end of the Kenobi show, when Palpatine confronts Vader, he's like, basically like your devotion is split. Like, are you devoted to me, or are you going to be focused on Obi-Wan? And he's kind of like basically threatening Vader, like, if you don't stop, I can end you. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to stop pursuing Obi-Wan. But like, that's why he wants to keep it a secret from Palpatine, because he doesn't want Palpatine to confront him. Like, are you split here? Like, he's like, he learned from his pursuit of Obi-Wan to not make his pursuit public to the Emperor, which is kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, interesting. It is interesting to think about.
That's cool. I'm excited for part 2 of this.
Yeah.
Whenever,
basically, as it continues, we get all of our favorite rebellion characters in there. A lot of Luke, a lot of Leia and Han. We get some other characters. There's a lot to look forward to in part 2.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly when part 2 is going to happen. We'll have to talk with Grace about her summer schedule, but starting next week will be 7 weeks of Acolyte. So,
wow, is it already next week? That's crazy.
Yep.
2 episodes next week.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 episodes, but they're releasing on Tuesday nights, so that's going to be pretty fun. But yeah, so maybe sometime in August we'll get part 2 of this, because I think we're going to do the next High Republic book right after Acolyte. So
Oh, I forgot we also had the next Acolyte book. Do you guys know what date that comes out? I'm so excited.
The High Republic book comes out in like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yay.
So like, then we'll have like a little over like 5 or 6 weeks or something to read the book, and then Acolyte will be done, and we can read, what is it called? The Temptations of the Force or something like that?
Yeah, it's such a juicy title.
Yeah, so we're excited for that, and then who knows what the schedule will entail, but
do we know who's writing that book?
I don't know. We have to Google it. I don't know. I think it was a guy, I want to say. I don't know. I had a 50-50 chance there, but
I feel like it's probably not. I feel like they're more, but
probably
okay.
like,
it's mostly women, I feel like, are the authors of
exactly.
these books, but I can.
Yeah, Google it.
it's like Claudia Gray. Completely wrong.
Oh, it's Tessa Gratton.
So
Yeah.
you're wrong.
Which I feel like I think she's like she's written multiple High Republic books, I think.
She definitely has.
But
Good job, Jeremiah. You're close.
Yeah.
But great Googling.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Grace. I really enjoyed this presentation. It was a lot of fun. A lot of details, a lot of cool visuals with these.
Yeah, we're looking forward to
comics.
part 2. And also, Grace, if you want to come on any of the breakdowns of the Acolyte, just let us know.
All right.
We're
Probably not next week, because Andrew said he's going to be joining us, and there's 2 episodes, so it could be like a 5-hour breakdown.
It'll be like a 6 hours with 4 people.
So,
that'd be crazy.
But no. Yeah, I leave that to Andrew. But
Yeah,
other
ones
for sure.
Don't be afraid to
just let us know. You're like, I want to talk about this one. All right, just jump on.
All right. That gives me an excuse to, watch them extra times, because it will be preparation, right? If I watch it 3 times, it's because it's for a job,
it's
not for
nerdy
myself.
stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yep, you're doing it for work.
Exactly. Okay, great.
I always sometimes I refer to these recordings as business meetings.
Oh, yes, for certain. It goes in the calendar. It's much like a business meeting.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, we should transition to everyone's favorite time of every episode, voicemail time. So let's take a shift over there.
It's voicemail time.
All right, cool. Well, tonight we have 4 voicemails, and it should go a lot faster than last week's one, because if we spent the same amount of time as we did last week on each voicemail, it would be like another hour and a half tonight. But this one should move. Don't worry, Grace. Take a deep breath. We can move faster. So, first up, from Cody, who we mentioned earlier, who named his pig Queel. This is from him. The audio is a little like robotic sounding. I don't know what happened, but let's take a listen to Cody's message.
Hey, Empire Radio, Cody here. I had a question for each of you. Drew, your question is, with your son, has he ever burned you out on a movie? Like my kids have burned me out on Frozen and Cars and Good Boy. I was just wondering if Miles had burned you out on any movies. And Jeremiah, I just listened to the episode where you said you hated summer. I was wondering if you'd ever tried ice baths, because I have as a fellow hater of the summer. And yep, those are my questions. Have a good day. May the force be with you.
All right, cool, Cody. Thank you for that. So I had 2 questions. One for Drew. Has Miles ever basically burned you out on any movies that you've watched over and over and over and over again?
Cars.
Yeah.
Cars is it. Like, he used to watch Toy Story a lot, but like, yeah, it kind of got like old, but it's still Toy Story. Like, I don't know, there's something about where like it didn't feel, and then you could always just watch Toy Story 2 or 3. Steph doesn't let us watch 3 that much because it's depressing for her.
The fire ending.
The ending.
One?
So she just like doesn't let us. Every once in a while we can squeeze it in, but no, Cars is like the most one that I was like, this is really annoying. Like, I don't know why. It's just after a while, it's like there's only so much of that you can watch. He's like really into like Turtles again right now, and he likes to watch the live action one now. So it's kind of cool because like I haven't seen those since I was like a little kid, and those are really old, so they're kind of cheesy. But like for some reason, I don't know why he like wants to watch the old Turtles movies. He likes live action stuff. So, but yeah, Cars I think was the one for a while that was just like, oh, if I had to watch this movie again, I'm never gonna buy a car again in my life. Like it was just, it was a little old. It got old. But yeah.
All right, this is a little side note, but Toy Story 3, the funniest thing ever. There was this video that these guys, they took the ending, took the movie, and they edited the ending. So when they were going into the fire to the incinerator,
they just died.
They cut right to the credits, and they showed that version to their mother.
Oh heck no!
So she thinks that it ends with them going into the furnace and they all die.
Oh, so sad. Oh, that's so messed up.
That's kind of funny, but
like, how's there Toy Story 4 and then 5 was about to come out?
This was before 4 ever came out, but
gotcha.
But it's still kind of funny. But Cody's question for me was, as a hater of summer, have I ever taken an ice bath? Because I mentioned, I think, in that episode that I like taking cold showers, but I have not taken an ice bath.
You might like it'd be good for your back.
I don't think it would be good for my back.
It would.
I don't know.
There's like literally things that's it. And you probably have a sauna. Don't you have a sauna in your building?
In the clubhouse, I think there might be a sauna. Yeah.
What you need to do is go in the sauna, get super hot, sit in there, and then come home and then jump in the ice bath, and you will feel amazing.
Yeah, but where am I gonna get 50 pounds of ice? It's like
just go to Cup Foods and buy ice and stick it in your fridge and then throw it in the.
I don't have that much space for ice. No, but
one day I'll just drop off ice for you. And
it would be interesting to do an ice bath. I've never tried it. I've wondered if I want to do the polar plunge. Do you know what that is, Grace?
Yes. Well, I'm familiar generally with polar plunges, but is that like a specific to Minnesota thing? That
well, they do it in
Minnesota. I don't know.
Plunge?
I think they do it in other places, but they do it every year, like on January 1st, I think. they cut open a slab of a lake and people.
Yeah, they like cut the lake and then you can jump into the lake.
I have not heard of that. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous. What?
Well, they don't do it like in the middle of the lake. It's like where they can hit the ground, like when they jump.
It's like
it's
and then they have like a step thing where you can climb out of it, and it's like perfectly safe. They give you blankets right away, and heat like they heat you up, and it's like a thing that they always do for like a like whatever you're fundraising for or whatever. Like it's like a nonprofit kind of thing. Like
got it.
Like a group of people just like jump for like breast cancer or whatever. Like it's kind of like that. It's like awareness stuff. I've done it once.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When did you do that?
In high school. I think we did it for like Feed Our Starving Children or something. I don't remember what it was for, but it was cold. But see, I love like growing up. We had a hot tub, and we would always do that in the winter when it's like negative outside. You sit in the hot tub; it's super hot, and then you get out of the hot tub and then like go lay in the snow and roll around and get cold really fast, and then jump back into the hot tub, and you feel amazing. Like you feel like a new person. It's a thing. It's yeah.
Oh, this is the sort of thing people do in really cold places. I have never encountered any of this. So fun.
Well, come on, you travel the world. You've seen plenty of cool things, but
our
traditions are more stupid, not cool. But
yeah, it's not that cool. It's just like, how bored are we right now? Let's roll around outside in the winter and then jump in the hot tub real quick. Like that's kind of what it is. No, you could do, Jeremiah, when it's negative. You could get into your sauna and then go outside and stay outside and like just freeze a little bit and then go back in the sauna.
I don't like the idea of saunas. I always just picture like
a bunch of sweaty men,
two burly Russian, former Soviet Union Russians, like putting water on the coals, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
Jeremiah goes in there with his all clothes on. Like,
hey guys,
in between the two big men.
Oh god! All right, thank you, Cody, for that question. I like that we are brothers in arms about hating the summer. I don't find a lot of people around me that hate the summer as much.
I was gonna say I do not hate the summer at all.
I know that's your favorite time of year. But that being said, let's move on to our next voicemail from Easton, who has a wonderful question that we could discuss. So let's take a listen.
Easton.
Empire Radio, it's me, Easton, again. I'm just going to go straight to the questions today. What movies or shows have made you, cry the most? For me, I cried during the old school Armageddon, and then just a few other ones, and I seem to cry every single time watching the Clone Wars finale. Thank you. May the Force be with you.
All right. Thank you, Easton. So the question is...
Are they all robotic today?
No, just those two.
Weird.
I don't know. They're kind of weird. But when you're sending a voicemail, make sure you project, because sometimes they come out weird. But Easton's question is, what movies or shows have we cried the most over? He said the old Armageddon movie, and then the Clone Wars finale. So
I don't want to go first. I think.
Grace, are you in general? Grace, are you a crier watching movies or shows, or are you too tough to cry?
I'm not. The answer is yes. I am not a crier in real life, but I am very easily emotional over. Well, whatever. Like maybe for a girl, I'm not, but comparative to other people I know, I'm more likely to get emotional over movies and shows. So I definitely agree on the Clone Wars finale. When I watched that for the first time, I feel like I was depressed for multiple days afterwards. It wasn't just a quick cry and be done. It
wasn't just a one and done.
Yeah, it was a deep depression sort of situation. The other one that comes to mind quickly is Up. The Pixar movie. It's even talking about it now makes me sad. That opening.
That is one movie that Miles binge watches all the time too.
Oh,
and it does not it does not get old because
wow.
he always thinks he's a male, like that kid,
Yeah.
and then he calls my dad the grandpa, like the old guy. So he's like, "Look, it's Pop Up." I'm like, "No, that's not your grandpa, dude. This is an old guy. Not all old people are the same."
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, what
Have
about
you
you
watched
guys?
the Doug stories on Disney Plus?
No, I
The
didn't know
what
there
stories?
were Doug stories.
Huh?
Doug
Yeah.
stories? Like
Yeah.
from
So
the
like,
show
there's a
Doug?
whole the dog. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like the show Doug from when we were
No,
kids.
the dog.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that it was on there.
Yeah, he has his like own, and they're shorts. They're like 10-minute at max, kind of like one off. But then it's like him and the grandpa doing things, but it's through the dog's
Oh,
perspective. And it's really fun. It's just a cool, fun story
that's
about
so
a
cute.
dog that can talk, and like the grandpa goes on a date for one of the episodes, and like it's really cool. You'd like it.
Oh, wow. Did you guys see that recently Airbnb did this thing where they like created the up
Crate it
house,
up,
the place?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
You can rent the up
crazy.
house and go up in the sky with it. And they
Would you
want to
guys
do
do
more
that?
stuff. Oh, heck yeah. Heck
I'd
yeah.
have to look it up, see what it is. I never even heard that. So
Yeah, and there's a couple other houses too that they're doing. I think
Oh,
they're
like
doing like
what
a Harry
else?
Potter room house, like
Oh
theme.
yeah. Yeah, and I think they're doing the X-Men mansion, right? Like you can
Yep.
rent the
Yeah, you
mansion.
can.
oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, like they're trying to do other things to pull the negative publicity off of them. They're doing stuff like that.
I don't think I could stay in the up house though. I'd be so scared that I was gonna fall out of the sky in the middle of the night or something.
I think it's just like at one point it goes up, but then it like mostly stays
Oh.
down. Like I don't think it's like always up. I think it's just like part of it. It can go up in the air.
Yeah, that makes more sense, honestly. Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough.
All right. Well, back to the question. Drew, any specific movies or shows that made you cry?
Grace answered. I'm thinking of like the last time I cried during anything. It was probably Star Wars, and it was I Can't Swim. That was probably
Mm,
like I have like a reaction of that, and that was
mm.
pretty emotional for me. Because that part was just depressing. Like he did all this work, and then he couldn't even swim out of it. It was sad.
Yeah. But
Trying
he
to
kind of
think.
says it with like a smile on his face. Ugh, that hits so hard.
Yeah, like he just realized that he's dead, essentially.
Mm.
I'm trying to think. There's not really anything like that will give me more than once. Like it's not like I'll turn it back on and then I'll still be super emotional for. Yeah, I don't know.
I always get like misty eyed. Like when I was watching the finale of Bad Batch, like the whole time I'm like, this is so sad. This is like, what's gonna happen? Like I was misty eyed the whole time. But the last movie that I watched that like made me like tears come down my face, like I couldn't believe it, was okay. This is not a family friendly movie. This is a very adult movie, but the movie Whale with Brendan Fraser. Do you know that one?
Oh
I haven't
yeah,
seen that.
yeah. Because he won the Oscar for that,
Yeah,
right?
he won the Oscar for it, and it's so sad.
Really?
Oh,
It was just a very very disturbing movie. If you know
yeah,
what it's about, you know what it's about. I'm not gonna really talking about it, but
yeah.
like it was very very emotional. The whole movie was very emotional, and like you get to like the end, and it's just so like you just start crying.
I should watch that movie.
Oh, but the other one that I can think of was in the Kenobi show. One
Mm,
when was
Yes.
the girl Tala, like
yeah,
the mentor that kind of like trains Leia a
yeah.
little bit, and like is like the leader of the hidden path. When she
Mm,
says when she's about to know she's about to die, and she says, "May the Force be with you," to Obi-Wan just before she died, that made me cry. And then
mm.
when at the end when
When he's talking to
Obi-Wan
Leia.
when he's talking to
Oh, me
Leia,
too.
and he's like,
Yeah.
all the attributes of Leia and her parents. I was ugly crying. Like,
Yeah, that one was
I
rough. I
that
remember
was
that I did a reaction to that too. I was like, dude, this is
Yeah.
intense, bro.
It's so sad.
I cried more on that than when him and Vader or Anakin
Oh,
were
for
fighting and
sure.
talking.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
was sad. But
Hmm.
and the one time you can see me cried on the YouTube channel when I did reactions to Star Wars Visions, Screecher's Reach from season 2. I got teary eyed during my reaction videos to that. So if you want to see me cry a little bit, go watch my reaction to Screecher's Reach from. Because Grace, have you watched Visions yet?
I still haven't. Every flight I go on, I download it and I'm like, I'll watch it, and then tell them I watched it, and then I don't. So sorry.
Terrible. You gotta
Really
watch it.
bad. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe before the next podcast, we'll see.
Hopefully. All right. Well, thank you, Easton, for that question. Next up, from our good friend Will, which he sent this in not realizing that other voicemails are already sent in, but he did his due diligence. So let's take a quick listen to his quick voicemail.
Hey, Empire Radio. Will here. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say hello so we keep the streak alive. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Will. Because, Grace, if you don't know, we have not missed a week of having voicemails since we got our first one in February
Wow.
2021.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
1 or 2?
21.
Jeez.
So it's been over 3 years. We've had at least one voicemail sent every week. And so sometimes, if none have been sent in, I send in a distress call in the Discord for people to send one in. But Will sent it in just to cover his bases.
Very good. Thank you.
But last up, we have a voicemail from Owen. And he doesn't have a question, but he has some fun facts for us about Star
Uncle
Wars.
Owen.
Yep. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Empire Radio. Owen here with another voicemail. Today I have 2 fun facts for you guys about Qui-Gon Jinn. So the first thing is that during Qui-Gon's funeral in Episode 1, we see a panning shot of almost all the characters looking over Qui-Gon's body. On one side we see Palpatine, and then on the other side of the screen we see young Anakin. The only people between Anakin and Palpatine are Padme and Obi-Wan. The other thing, when Qui-Gon died to Darth Maul, Yoda picked up his robes to use them for later use. When he exiled to Dagobah, he actually used Qui-Gon's robes as his blanket. Thanks, may the Force be with you. Bye.
That's that's dark.
Whoa.
We'll have to Google Wikipedia that one, that last fact, which is kind of cool if it's true.
Sad. Depressing.
Really, really dark, but it's so interesting.
Yeah, so thank you for those fun facts, Owen. Like, we don't get a lot of fun fact voicemails, so
yeah, send those in if you guys have those.
Yeah,
and
if you guys have fun facts,
like the whole Anakin and that's pretty cool.
It's super cool. I appreciated Owen's like film analysis there. Like, I've watched that movie a million times and never noticed that. So
we literally just watched that in theaters, and
But also next to Palpatine was Jar Jar, and it pans to Palpatine and Jar Jar when he says, "But who was killed, the apprentice or the master?" And you see a shot of Palpatine and Jar Jar together. So,
oh my gosh!
Hey man, they're doing it in Lego. Maybe
I was gonna say September can't come soon enough.
For real,
yep.
Just for that alone.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm still mad I didn't do a reaction video to that.
Yeah, we're mad that we didn't do reactions, but I'm sure there'll be like a full length trailer.
But the biggest thing was the Jar Jar thing, and they already told us.
I know. But next time we'll just have to do it just to play safe. Maybe there's something else in there that
there might be more.
Yeah, maybe Jar Jar has like a son. That's also
maybe Plagueis comes out with Jar Jar, and we didn't see that. Whoa,
maybe. All right. Well, those are the voicemails tonight. So thank you to Cody, Easton, Will, and Owen. But
Uncle Owen.
Sorry. But yes, if you have never sent in a voicemail, talking to Grace,
I sent in a voicemail one time. Excuse me.
Did you?
Like a
When?
while ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she
Like
did actually.
Yeah. Whoa, Jeremiah, the
Wait a
slander.
second. Did we play it on air? Because I don't remember.
know.
Did you send one and it never came in?
Well,
I'll have to
What
go
was
back.
it about?
Well,
I don't remember. It
I
was like
can
in the
act-
fall. Like clothing, maybe? Star Wars clothes? Yeah, your favorite Padme outfit? I think that was the question. But again, whatever. I don't really
Okay,
remember.
well, I have a file with all the voicemails, and I just
Yeah.
typed in Grace,
Yeah.
and it says no matches, no items match your thing. So I don't think we got it. I think you might have sent it and it didn't come through because that's been known to happen.
Oh,
So
that's depressing.
Grace,
Wow.
you got to send in a voicemail.
Okay.
Resend
Okay.
it. Resend
Yeah.
the same one.
Can't promise it'll be the same one since my memory of the exact question is foggy,
Well,
but it
You
sounds
can
like
say
I
it's
have
the
to
same
get
one.
Well,
Okay,
say it's
okay,
the
you
same
okay.
or you can just ask us some fun random question that we can debate for like
Okay.
20 minutes or something.
Perfect.
As
No,
long as Andrew's on, then yeah, that's gonna take forever. So maybe next
Great.
week.
Yeah, I was
send
gonna
one.
say I have my homework set out for me for next week. I'm on it. Don't worry, guys.
Watch the episode on Tuesday, send in voicemail next week,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can debate about it.
Perfect. It's a deal.
But if your name is not Grace and you want to send in a voicemail,
Or if your name is Grace somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's
great
also-
name. Yeah.
great name,
Solid name.
very graceful.
You deserve that one, Jeremiah.
But if you click in the description, the links.co/Empire Radio, links spelled with 2 I's, click on that. There is a link to SpeakPipe, which is the website that we use, because I believe starting next week is when our old one doesn't work anymore, which we haven't been using anyway. But starting next week, it's the only option to send in a voicemail is that way. So click on that. And you don't have to sign up or anything. You can just press record and it will record. And so click that. But also, if you want to get connected to Empire Radio in every way possible, there's a link for our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube, Twitch. If you want to watch us live on Wednesday nights, we'd love to see you in the chat, especially starting with the Acolyte series coming out. A lot of discussion about stuff. You could ask us questions and thoughts and ideas from the show episodes that when we're doing a breakdown, you can bring that up, and we'd love to read those on air and discuss things. If you want to join the Discord, what are you doing with your life? Click the link and join, because the Discord's a lot of fun. There's also a fan email if you ever need to email us about anything. And then finally, needlesslynerdy.com, which is an entertainment network that we are part of. So go click that link to find other nerdy content like podcasts and articles and all that kind of stuff. Grace, do you want to plug your Instagram quick?
Yeah, you should definitely just prioritize following Empire Radio. But if you want to follow an additional person, you can follow my cosplay Instagram at gals_of the galaxy. I mostly post Star Wars related cosplays and the occasional Marvel and Game of Thrones, and a little bit of Star Wars humor here and there. It's a fun time. I'd love it if you guys came and hung out with me. I have all of my Dr. Aphra cosplays on that Instagram, so you can see, if you're not watching along on the YouTube, which you should be, you can see the full look on Instagram.
Yeah. Do you have anything planned, any new cosplays planned this summer you're going to reveal on, or nothing? Nothing.
Any new ones that I'm going to reveal? I do have some new Padme ones. I also have all of my cosplay stuff at home with me now. So because I'm not in the midst of school, I will be taking some new photos, taking advantage of the good weather and the pretty nature here. So there's definitely some stuff to look forward to, some repeat cosplays, and definitely some new ones as well.
You should do an Omega season 3 cosplay. She has a cool outfit.
Yeah, but I think Jeremiah, my fandom for the Bad Batch is kind of medium, so I'm not sure, but maybe.
Come on, season 3 of Bad Batch was one of the best things Disney put out, I think.
I love that you love it.
But you don't like it that much? You didn't like it?
I don't know. I don't want to get,
She doesn't want to be here for another hour.
No, I'm happy to talk about it, but a lot of people love it. I just don't love it as much as a lot.
Did you watch it
people.
all?
Yeah, I did finish it. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Jeremiah kept getting me to watch it.
Yep.
It was good. Have you seen it all, Drew? Yeah,
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
you did because
Of
you
course.
reacted to it. Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
know. I hate America's accent. It's so annoying.
What?
Dang. Start out like that.
Dang, that's kind
You're
of.
gonna get a lot of new fans that are be haters.
I know.
Sorry
I
to
know,
our
I know.
New Zealand Kiwi fans.
Oh,
Grace
I
does not
know.
represent what we at Empire Radio stand for.
Yeah, the things that Grace say are not endorsed by Empire Radio fully.
Good. Glad we're adding that legal disclaimer as well. Good job, guys.
Just the canon stuff.
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. So thank you, Grace, for putting all that time and work in
Yes.
Thank you,
And we're excited
guys.
for part 2 of this Vader.
100%, and maybe some Acolyte talking. I'm
Acolyte and
always excited to chat with you guys about Star Wars
Temptations of the
stuff.
Force too, and who knows what else is going to
Such a
come
good
out.
summer.
Yep, it's going to be a good summer for Star Wars, and so I'm excited. But anything else you guys want to?
Nope.
Any final comments? Anything?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool. Well, you've been listening to another Comics with Grace-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Grace.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.